Now we're ready to place in some nighttime decor fixtures. But before we do that, I want to say this. When you're putting in the fixtures, sometimes in reality, you're not really going to see some of the fixtures. For example, let's say you were going to put a fixture in here to light up this wall. It might be behind this shrub right here, so you're really not going to see it. So you have a choice. You could put it in there anyway, or you can not put it in there and just do the effect that it's going to have on this wall. Same thing if you're going to highlight this tree. It might be behind the shrubs. So keep that in mind. You can show the fixture or not show the fixture. It's totally your call. So let's start by putting in some pathway lights here. So what you do to access the library is go up here to the object library. Go to Nighttime Decor, and we want a path light, so we'll click on Path. It brings up the path light library. Then to select the light you want to use, you double click it and it comes up on the screen. To size the image down, because that's a little big for this house, you want to go to one of the corner handles here and click and drag it down to the size you want. So once you've got it sized down, you click and drag it to the position where you want it. Now I've sized that down, moved it, and I realize it's still too big. I'm going to size it down again. So now we've got that fixture in there. We want more of these fixtures. Because I want them to match, I'm just going to use the one that I've already sized down. So I'm going to click on it, and then I go up here to duplicate on the menu, and you'll see my cursor turns into an arrow with two dots. That means I'm in duplication mode. So wherever I place that arrow and I click, I'm going to get another fixture. So I want one on that side of the driveway, I want one over here, and let's say back here by this pathway over there. So now I'm done duplicating. I want to stop duplication. I right click to stop duplication mode. So then I can come back to these lights, adjust them a little bit more, because this is off in the distance a little bit more. These would be a little bit smaller, and you can always move these around. So if you didn't get them exactly where you want them, that's no big deal. Oh, and I forgot to put some over here, so I've got this one selected. I'll duplicate and put one back here, and that's good enough. So this one we want a little bit smaller because it's going back in perspective. Keep that in mind when you're doing things in perspective. If you have all your lights the same size, it's just not going to look right. The ones in the front will be larger, the ones in the back will be smaller. So we got the path lights in there. Now I want to place some spotlights in here, so I go up to Object Library, Nighttime Decor, and click on Spot. I'm going to take a minute here to show you a little bit about the library. So you notice that the Spot library came up in the middle of my screen, not exactly where I would like it to come up. So what you could do is you can move it and shape it, the libraries that is, to the place you want it to come up at. So let's say I want it to come up to the edge of the screen. So I'll move it over here to the edge. I'm going to grab one of these corner handles and click and drag it. So now the library is going to come up this way along the edge of my screen. So when I close it and I go back to spotlights again, it comes up over here on the side with two images showing here as the thumbnails. I could make it just one image by making it a little bit thinner. The other thing too is if I double click on an image, you'll see that the library stays there when the image comes up. If you want the library to go away and minimize at the bottom of your screen, click here where it says library and click on shrink after use. So now when I select on this fixture, the fixture comes up and the library automatically minimizes and goes to the bottom of my screen. Now you notice this fixture is pretty big for this image. There's a couple reasons why the fixtures are so big. Number one, in imaging, the number one rule is you never size up from the original picture, because when you do that, the computer makes up information and it makes the picture fuzzier. It's always better to size it down. Number two, if you want a close-up of the image and you have to size it up, it's going to be fuzzy. So the images are a little large, and in this case I need to scoot it down a bit so I could see the corner handles here, and then click and drag it, and I've actually drug it off the image, but I could just pick it up and size it again. So let's size it down, and let's say we want this spotlight to be over here shining up on the house. Now it's pointing in the wrong direction, so I want to flip it. So let's zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to press F10 on the keyboard. I want it facing the other direction here, so it's facing the house here. So what I do is I click on flip horizontal, and you can see it changes its direction, and we'll put it in here. Now again, we're going to leave this one in front of the shrubs, but I'm also going to show you how to put a fixture like this and make it look like it's behind the shrubs with a little bit of it sticking out. So I'm going to zoom out by pressing F9, and I want another spot over here, so I'm going to select on it, go to duplicate, put it over here, and now with this one I want to make it look like it's just sticking out of the shrubs. So what you would do is go into the eraser tool. I'm going to get a smaller brush here. I'm going to zoom in again by pressing F10 and just erase part of this fixture, so just the tip is sticking out above the shrubs here. So we'll click OK, and you can see it right the way. You can barely see it, but that's what I was talking about a few seconds ago, where sometimes you're not really going to see the fixtures, but you have a way of faking that if you want. Now let's go over how to put a different type of spot in. So we'll bring up the spot library. Also, I didn't show you this, but you can also click and drag a object to the screen. A fixture is an object. So I'm going to click on it and drag it to the middle of the screen there, and as you can see, the library stays up and you're able to drag something onto the screen. So I'm going to size this thing down here. I know it's too big, but I'm going to zoom in. We'll size it down a little bit more. So let's say this is an in-ground spotlight shining up on the tree. Pretty much that does it, but I wanted to show you how you can change the perspective of the light if it's needed. So what you do is you go up here to the warp tool, and we're going to click on horizontal, and we're just going to grab these handles here and bring them in a little bit, and it makes it look like it's more of a flat angle here. So when you're done, you simply click OK to exit that. And again, we're going to zoom back out. Now let's put a tree spotlight in. So again, we'll bring up the spotlights, scroll down here to the bottom, double click it to bring it on the screen. Again, it needs to be sized, and this one really needs to be sized down. I'm going to zoom in by pressing F10 on the keyboard. And now we want this to be at a little bit different angle. So what I'm going to do is rotate it. Clicking on the rotate icon, you'll see you have these circles on the corners. You just click and drag on those to get it at the angle that you want, and then right click to stop rotation. And I'll size it down a little bit more. So now we've got that light up there. So I think at this point you get the picture. Basically, you pull up the library of the fixtures that you want, you bring them to the screen, you size them down, you place them where you want them. It's pretty much that simple. There's a few tricks as far as warping things and rotating things, but pretty much that's all there is to it once you've manipulated the image and got it looking the way you want. So at this point, you have the fixtures in the image. You want to save this as a JPEG. To do that, we'll go here to File, Save As. We're in the same folder already called Jones. I'm going to name this Jones with Fixtures, so it's real clear which one it is, and then click Save, because this is the image that we're going to bring into the effects program to do the lighting effects. Now the other thing you really should do, but you don't have to do, is also save this file as an L&D. An L&D is a work in progress, so that you could bring it back up in the future and make changes to it. You'll understand again when I get to the end of the videos here on why you want an L&D. So I want to save this again. This time I'm going to go to File, Save As, and then I'm going to leave it as Jones with Fixtures, but I'm going to just put at the end of it WIP, the work in progress, and I'm going to change the file type to LND, so I know that this is a file that I could go in and change easily in the future. So I'll click Save, and now the image is saved.